Hernandez.
I'm Holly McClure.
And this is Faith Unveiled, a program designed to keep you informed on everything that's happening in the world of faith and family entertainment. Holly, we ran out of time last week.
We did. We were having so much fun talking about our movies. It was like, oh, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
We were, and that's that we didn't even have a guest.
I know. But there's so much going on these days. And the funny thing is, Isaac, politically is merging in with films. So now we're not only talking about good films, bad films, and then, of course, interviewing people in the industry on faith and interviewing people, which we have some people coming up. It's going to be great shows coming up with other filmmakers and directors and actors and people that are in films. But now there's so many films that have political agendas. We need to tell people to beware of certain films and certain content so that parents can be discerning. Because Isaac, quite frankly, when people are deciding between filling up their car with gas or getting groceries or doing anything else with this economy, going to the movies and taking your kids and going to see a Disney film or whatever, and then spending $50, $60, $70 is a choice these days.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I got to let you know, I actually don't go to the theater that much anymore. I let you do it. I pretty much stay home and watch movies at home. And what happened? Something that happened. I know, because they're all. Some of them actually are on streaming literally a few weeks after they come out on theaters. So unless it's a movie that you just have to have the big theater experience, I'm fine watching it.
Jurassic Park.
Exactly. Yeah. Other than that, I'm fine watching it in my big 70-inch screen. And lately, I've been watching a lot of Christian movies actually, because recently, you notice my voice even since last week. It's kind of weird, and that's because I had surgery, and they stick that tube down your throat, and it kind of has messed it up, at least for a while. I'm hoping it all comes back, but for now it does have that. But while I was recouping, I sat there and started to watch a lot of Christian movies, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying these. Yes, they are not as amazing, let's say, as some of the Hollywood movies, because they don't have the budgets.
Formulaic.
Yeah, you said that Light Buzzier cost how many $1 million?
$200 million to make Buzz Lightyear.
$200 million.
Well, to make not Buzz Lightyear, to make Lightyear. Yeah, $200 million.
A lot of these Christian movies, they're lucky if they made them for $500,000. But one thing I discovered is how good they make me feel when I'm done after I watch them. I was watching one recently that I literally cried through several parts of the movie because I saw the change that God made in the characters of the movie. And I am part of that as a lifestyle. And so I just loved seeing how God works in people. So we need more of those. Now.
Well, wait. What was the name of the movie that you watched?
That one was called. Oh, see, I knew you were going to put me on the spot like that.
Was it Rich Cristiano?
It was a Rich Cristiano movie.
It was a Rich Cristiano.
Yeah,
because he's done some amazing films, and he's been in business for a long time. And you and I both know him. I mean, from TBN days, and just because he, like I said, he and his brother have been producing for a long time. He's got great movies.
He does.
And check him out, Rich Cristiano. He's
And we're going to have him on the show. We're going to have both of them on the show. They're twin brothers. I hope we can tell which was which. But we will have them on the show and talk about some of the movies that they've done. But last week we were talking, of course, about Elvis, and we might recap on a few of the other shows that we talked or movies that we talked about last week. But one of the things that struck me is you talked about how they took a person, Elvis, who was raised a Christian, who had a Christian mother.
Right.
Yes, he was taken and he made the crossover, and eventually, well, we know what happened to him. But the story that was created, I think, was created through the wrong eyes. And what I mean by that is, when a director or a writer does a movie, even though it's a biopic, even though it's somebody's true story, but it's still through their life. Through what they lived, through what they saw, through what they experienced. Right. And so they tend to write it that way. They tend to direct it that way. And that's why, tell me if I'm wrong, but should maybe not some of these movies about people, even though they're a big Hollywood celebrity perhaps, or were a big Hollywood celebrity, or just a big, celebrity type person, but had a faith upbringing. Wouldn't it be better if that movie was made by somebody who has that same kind of experience so that they write it a little bit more realistic? Because there's no way that what you said Elvis was like in this movie is what he more than likely was like in reality.
Excuse me. Yes, I agree with you. Baz Luhrmann is known for doing very frenetic musicals and packing a lot in. I mean, even the opening of the credits and the beginning of the signature for the studio, and everything is in reds and golds and diamonds and rubies, and that is even the credits. They surrounded the screen with an Elvis-like extravaganza over and atop and above and beyond what normal people did. You see the costumes. You see Elvis, go from the young boy being touched in a Pentecostal church and being slain in the spirit. They really show him being slain in the spirit, to being kind of naive and innocent, because he came out of really a non-educated, low-income background. And then immediately started singing in his teens and got swept up by Colonel Tom Parker and then carried into the entertainment world. So, what the beginning of that spiritual start that he had at the beginning, I know must have been there, and he must have struggled with it years later. But you don't see that because Baz Luhrmann wipes it out with this extravaganza and musical numbers and showing him, it's all about making money. Now, the story is told from Colonel Parker's perspective. So to be fair, it opens up with a very ill, walking with a cane, being thrown in the hospital and going to die, Colonel Tom Parker. So it's his story that he's telling through his perspective. But what you're going to walk out is going, gosh, I wish I would have seen more of Elvis, who Elvis was. I wish I would have seen more of his spiritual life. I wish I would have seen more personal moments and not just showy on stage, quick one-liner moments.
And I have seen a lot of documentaries on Elvis. Again, I'm a big Elvis fan. And I've seen a lot of documentaries on him. And one of the things that I've picked up on is that even after he was in this lifestyle, if you will, which is, okay, I'll call it a sinner's lifestyle, even though he was on that. But first of all, he always had these times when he would bring in people and they would do hymns, just sitting at his piano. This wasn't a show. This was just him at home singing hymns. And you know what? I felt the anointing, because the anointing doesn't leave. When they say God doesn't take it away. Say, oh, now you're not
right.
Now you're not really the Christian I expect you to be. So I'm going to pull that anointing. So it was there, and so to pull that off from in this movie, I think is probably then disingenuous.
I think you're so right. And if they'd shown more of those moments, because they did show pictures of there was always activity. He always had cousins. He always had friends. He always had people outside the front on the property, driving cars and around Graceland. So they do show that there was always people around. What they don't show, that he was a very generous man. He gave cars to people. He would give to charities. He gave away so much of his money and would give to those in need. And they don't show that side of him. They have him talking about giving, I'll buy my mama a pink Cadillac or a pink car, or buy you a house. And they show it that he did buy Graceland, and his parents, of course, lived there. But they don't show the other giving side, or like you said, the spiritual side that I know he was in conflict with later on in life. And you just feel sorry for him. I think I went in there going, oh, there's this icon, bigger in life icon that we've all loved and enjoyed, and some people still believe is still alive. But then, and I say that tongue in cheek, Elvis hasn't left the room yet. But when you walk out, I went in happy. Going, oh, I'm going to hear some Elvis songs and, see Elvis and the fun flim flam on the Hollywood side. Well, you see all that, but it's sad because it was such a caricature of him in the end, and people made fun of him. And then you see how he was in Vegas and he was going downhill because of Colonel Tom Parker, because of drugs, because of alcohol, because he felt trapped. And you walk out going, wow, and there's a little at the very end, they tell what happened to Colonel Tom Parker, that he actually went to court, that they sued him, and that the estate got money out of him. And they did get revenge, but Elvis was gone. It's what the family did to get it back. But it's just sad. So it's a sad story. And I don't want to tell people that, because if you're going thinking it's a lighthearted Elvis movie, there are moments, yes, but it doesn't end that way. And not only because of his death, but they could have ended it even with his death a little on a lighter note, telling all the good he did. And I just feel like paying more respect to him. I don't know. I was disappointed. And I think the box office is going to show once the word gets out. And poor Austin, he did an amazing job. He deserves all the glory. But once the word gets out, again, Isaac, do you want to go spend money and spend all that money and not be happy and come out wishing you hadn't gone see the movie? You'll just wait for it to come out on streaming. I mean, that's where people are at these days.
Well, I may go see this movie at the theater, not so much because I want to see it now.
I wish you would.
But yeah, I'm going to do it. Well, I'm going to do it for this reason. My grandson, when we went to see Top Gun, they had a trailer for it. They had a trailer for Elvis, and my grandson said, "I want to see this movie." And I'm thinking, you don't even know who Elvis is. But first of all, something must have captured him. Plus, I think he's very interested in people. And so he knew that this was a true story. And he's heard of Elvis, I'm sure. So he said, I want to see this movie. And so I'm going to go do it for him, I think.
No, just to be fair, I do want to tell people that there's a lot of GDs, there's a lot of language in this, and there's no actual sexual situations, but there's implied situations. Of course, he and Priscilla get married, but they show people laying on a bed, they show people but fully clothed. There's no, there's a scene where they show a girlfriend getting out of bed, and it's, so there are some implied sexual situations implied, but again, it's falling under the PG-13. There's no... but the language is there. And so I remember the day when a PG-13 would never have had the Lord's name in vain in that movie. You would never have heard that. That would have been an R rating. And so it grieves my heart that today a PG-13 that you take your children to will have or teenagers to, will have a GD all the way through. And I mean all the way through.
Maybe I
want to warn people.
Yeah, maybe I got to rethink this myself.
Well, I mean, from a critic's perspective, but I'm just saying, I don't know what age your grandson is, but just be real careful because that's in there.
He's 16. I guarantee you he hears worse than that in school. So we'll see. Now, did you want to recap a little bit more on Buzz Lightyear or the movie Lightyear? Because I know that we kind of rushed through it a little bit.
Let's do it a little bit because, parents, and I can't imagine adults going to see this without a kid, but maybe you're out there, maybe you loved Toy Story so much. So especially for you, if you did. This is a movie that's Pixar's film. It cost $200 million to make. It made $51 million. The opening box office had a 7.8 on Rotten Tomatoes. So already the critics' rating wasn't good on it. So people kind of got, and then there was a lot of buzz. Sorry about the movie.
Okay.
I had to say that there was a lot of buzz ahead of time.
But this will be a very light year for their revenue. See, I can keep up with you.
Well, you'd have to from infinity to beyond.
Oh, jeez.
From infinity and beyond. Okay. It is, Lightyear is based, it's supposed to be the movie, and at the beginning they tell you, this is the movie that Andy saw, that he wanted to go get the Buzz Lightyear toy, so that the toy was made after the character. So they're not trying to say this was Tim Allen, the toy's voice, or him. They're very clearly saying this was the movie that Andy saw that they based that toy on. So that's how they separated, to have Chris Evans be the voice of Buzz Lightyear. Then the storyline is he's stranded on a planet. There's a bunch of creatures that try to get the people for the 1,200 people that are come out of their capsules, and they have to live there until they find a way to get off. And so it's about they're out of fuel, and it's how Buzz has to find fuel and actually find how he can advance in space and travel light years to get them all and propel them out of there, and so that they can escape the planet. But in the meantime, every time he goes out, he makes a circle around a planet, he comes back, 4 years time span has passed. So that's how the movie progresses. You see his partner, who is then, while he was gone, found a female partner. She marries her. They have a son. And then again, more trips back. And so then they have a granddaughter because the son gets married, I guess, and has a granddaughter or daughter. And so this story then takes place how the granddaughter then ends up helping Buzz Lightyear, figure out a way to defeat the bad guy Zurg. Now, in the Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2, Zurg character was in there, and Zurg, which was a takeoff, of course, for Star Wars, Zurg ended up being Buzz Lightyear's "I'm your father," right? And so that's what they did in Toy Story 2, "I'm your father." Well, in this one, they changed the storyline. Okay, spoiler alerts. If you don't want to know it, turn it off. Don't listen because I'm going to do spoiler alert. In this one, they change it to where Zurg is actually Buzz, only in a different dimension, who didn't go off the planet, never found out how to get off the planet, which that never really was explained to me. And so he builds an army of bad guys, and his goal is to get the younger Buzz to find a way to get off there so that they can be space rangers again and get back into being space rangers, which again, I can't figure out how the older one was going to merge with the younger one, but anyway, to change history. And of course, Buzz is like, but no, I've seen my partner and her partner, and she had a child and they've had a grandchild, and life has gone on and it has value and meaning, and there's meaning in saving other people. Those people would never have that relationship or the marriage or the children if I cut them out in time and change time. And so there's that conflict there then with his own self, who's the older self. Then he has to kill his older self. Now, I will say this, I didn't say this in the other time I reviewed it. If you watch, as Disney does it, there are 2 end credits. And one of the they end it with one of them. They go a few minutes towards the credits, and there's another little scene that takes place, which is kind of a funny, scene. You have to wait for the very, very end of the movie. Do you want me to tell what it is or not? I don't know if I want to spoil it, but for the end of the movie, where I'll put it this way. I mean, even after you see the Pixar thing and it goes dark, then they show the very last scene. Most people are not going to see that. Most people are going to miss it. I'm sure most people will leave because your kids are going to be like, I don't want to watch credits. Let's get out of here. So it's weird to me that they did that on a kid's movie, because what kid wants to watch all the credits? So you can go to the bathroom and then come back.
Okay.
Go whatever, and then come back and then watch the very last scene, which basically shows that there could be a Lightyear 2, but after the box office and the flop that it is, kind of don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so either. No. When is Hollywood going to realize that there's a lot of us out here that maybe just want for animation and family movies to just go back to good family values and things that are simple? You don't have to figure this out. I mean, you're talking about all this, and I'm like totally getting lost.
Well, there was a good. Let me just interject. There was a good commentary. In fact, let me look at my notes here. Okay. There was a commentary. Do you mind if I take a minute and read this?
No, go ahead.
Really,
go ahead. Now we've got 10 minutes left in the show, and I want to make sure and get to the next one we want to talk about. But go ahead.
Okay, there was a commentary I read about Top Gun and why it was such a success, why it was did so well, Top Gun 2. And I think this speaks to all movies. It was just entertainment. It didn't make you feel like garbage about your country, your gender, your race, political party, religion, or values. There were good guys. There were bad guys. There was right. There was wrong. The hero was humbled. Confidence, even arrogance, wasn't shameful because it merited. Someone could be the best or excellent at what they did without apologizing for privilege. No one was apologizing for social norms, for hierarchies, for authority. Someone was in charge and someone wasn't. And that's life. Elders were respected and revered. Homage and honor was given instead of discarding or dismissing. Children weren't saving the world, while parents were portrayed as helpless morons. Duty and responsibility were positives, not negatives. Risk was assumed for the benefit of others. Jackwandery, buttonheadedness wasn't glorified. It wasn't trying to normalize deviancy. It was PG, but it was gratuitous. But it wasn't gratuitous with language, stupidity, or sex. Shall I go on? It wasn't Shakespeare. It wasn't Schindler's List. It wasn't Shawshank. It wasn't even necessarily edifying from a religious perspective. And yet, look how refreshing it was. There is a need for entertainment that doesn't try to damage or depress. Art and entertainment have been degraded into either purposeful propaganda or indulgent idiocy, and it's making us sick and frustrated and miserable. There's a reason the Bible isn't a narrative form. It's because common stories, common heroes, common language, and shared experiences are good for society, which is why the enemy undermines all of it. I love that.
Wow. And that's exactly on point right there.
It's exactly on point. Yeah. It speaks to it. Hey, we didn't get to really talk about Jurassic Park, and I want to talk about that.
Let's do that. Should we check out the trailer first and then talk about it?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Let's do
it. Blue had a baby. That's impossible.
Hey, girl.
You look just like your mother.
promise you, I am gonna get her back.
Genetic power has now been unleashed.
We made a terrible mistake.
The doomsday clock might be about out of time.
If our world's gonna survive, what matters is what we do now.
I could use your expertise.
You coming or what?
A baby raptor? I made a promise we would bring her home.
You made a promise to a dinosaur.
Yeah. What?
Everybody hold on to somebody. That can't be right. What is that?
Biggest carnivore the world has ever seen.
Run!
See? Not so bad.
Okay, you got 5 minutes to convince us that this is a good movie to go see.
Well, if the trailer doesn't convince you, I don't know what would. I want to go see it again just watching that trailer. Okay, first of all, folks, this is a PG-13, okay? Just from the trailer alone, can you get why you wouldn't take a 5 or 6-year-old to see that movie? Or I wouldn't, I'll put it this way. I wouldn't even take an 8 or 9-year-old. It depends. Okay, there are some scary jump, I'm going to get you, I'm going to bite you, I'm going to eat you. And in fact, they do eat, dinosaurs do eat some characters. So this is not a kiddie-friendly movie, okay? Just because there's a PG on it, PG-13. It's very much for the mature, older kids, older teens. So given that, I love this movie. It's already made 400 million worldwide. And what I love it is the critics didn't like it and they kind of panned it. And I love it when all the critics are wrong, even though I'm a film critic, because I'm telling you, I love it. I love it when the critics fail miserably because you don't understand the loyalty and the fun that people have with this movie. It earned over $400 million. Of course, it brings back, which is the best part, from all the Jurassic movies, it brings back Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Isabel Sermon, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum. Just to get the original character back in a creative way was awesome. And then you see how they get through it. And it ends on a happy ending, okay, as happy as you can be with dinosaurs still roaming the earth, and they are still roaming the earth, but it's creative. Hey, I think we have a clip from Chris Pratt. I want to hear what he had to say that encourages what the fascination is with dinosaurs.
Here we go.
Children are fascinated by things that they can't possibly imagine, but do have proof of. The stars. You know, you look up into the stars and you think that's 13 billion light years away. Like, how is that possible? That it couldn't. There are things that you can't believe, but there is proof that they exist. So it's really hard to wrap your head around them. Without evidence, you would certainly not believe that giant lizards roamed the earth at one point. But we do have evidence. It's buried in the ground in fossils and in museums around the world, and it forces a child to just imagine what that could be like.
I love Chris Pratt. Okay, for those who don't know, he is a Christian, and I mean a real Christian. He professes his faith in Christianity, and I just love him. And so I am kind of biased. I will support probably anything he does up to this point. I have, because he hasn't failed. I just love what he does, and how he does family-friendly things. And he has 2 children of his own with Catherine Schwarzenegger. So, you know, he's, a father, and he realizes that you need to think things your kids can enjoy. And again, this is not for little ones, but if your kids have seen the other Jurassic Park, which probably a lot of them have, 8, 9, 10 years old, they can probably handle it better. But it's fascinating. It takes you in different locations. It's exciting. It's thrilling. And even though okay, it's probably going to end, it still has the tense moments, which that to me is the proof. If they can still get you nervous and you're still rooting for the characters to make it and you're still concerned that they won't, that to me is a good movie.
Now, you mentioned something to me some time ago about, I guess it was the critics. Somebody was saying that what they didn't like about it was too much CGI.
Yeah. How else are you going to do dinosaurs? I'm
You
confused.
mean they
How else do you
didn't find a dinosaur farm somewhere where they could just rent dinosaurs for the
There's
movie?
actually a critic saying it was too CGI heavy. Yeah, because it's a dinosaur that hasn't
Dinosaur.
existed. The whole premise is I'm telling you, they must have 18-year-old, excuse me, I'm sorry, if there's 18-year-olds watching this, I'm sure you're smarter than what I'm going to refer to. There must be some 18-year-old morons writing some of these reviews and expecting people to believe that, oh, so you're going to have it realistic? It's this is a popcorn movie. I call it a popcorn movie. This is a popcorn movie. You go in there, you buy your popcorn, you get your drink, you sit down, and I always get M&Ms, by the way, and pour them into my popcorn. It makes it better. Just letting you know, that's a little tip to me. M&Ms,
I will have to try that.
M&Ms or Reese's Pieces, and you pour it in your popcorn, and I don't get it buttered. You just pour it in, and that chocolate and salt, oh, it's so good. This is the kind of movie you just go and just enjoy it. Enjoy the story. Enjoy it. Don't try to be real. Don't try to make it realistic. Just enjoy it. That's what it's
And
for.
this is the kind of show Faith on Film is. I mean, where else are you going to learn to put M&Ms in your popcorn?
Been doing it for years.
Faith on Film. Wow. Well,
Does anybody else put M&Ms in your popcorn? Please write us and let me know. I really want to know.
yes, and you can write us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Let us know. That would be interesting. I had never heard of that.
Such a great treat.
Yeah. Well,
That'd be great.
well, I'm glad we did this show to kind of finish this up, because I felt like, man, we just went through everything last week and didn't have the time to talk about like this movie. And I really wanted to talk more about Elvis, so I'm glad we had this opportunity. Now, folks, you can watch a lot of our past shows that I've done. I've got over 120 shows, I think. Now, the first 6 or 7 of them, Holly was not my co-host, so they're me alone trying to do the best I can.
You did great.
But there are some great interviews there, and it's very, very simple to do. Let me show you how you do that. You simply go to your browser and just go to YouTube. Okay, when you're on YouTube, look up Faith on Film TV. Once you are there, you will find Faith on Film TV. You click that icon and look at this. You can go to the videos and look at all the shows that are there. I mean, just tons of shows with some great people. I've got, Nancy Stafford,
Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo, Sam Sorbo. Look, your new boss right there. That's
Yay.
Tammy Lane.
Lane.
So you can go and watch a lot of these shows just by going to YouTube, and some great stories by great Christian filmmakers. And of course, next week we're going to have the Cristiano brothers, so they'll come and share with us about what they're doing in Christian films. All right.
That's right. And visit us you can visit or come see me at Capernaum Studios. If you go CapernaumStudios.com, you can find out where we're located. I'm in Texas now. Isaac and I are Texans now. Yay! We're excited.
You got to do that. You got to do this. The Longhorn, Texas Longhorns. All right, Holly, thanks a lot. Try to stay cool. Again, it hasn't cooled down around here. Hopefully it does soon, because, man, I'm melting.
I am too. But until next time.
Yep. Folks, see you next week.